El Chapo. This asshole was born in 1957 in a small-ass town in the mountains of Sinaloa, Mexico. He didn't exactly pop out of the womb with a silver spoon shoved up his ass. No, his family was poor, like dirt-eating poor, scraping by like rats in a sewer. His old man was a rancher. But he wasn't just tending to cows and chickens on his ranch, he was cultivating fields of opium poppy like it was going out of style. Opium poppy ain't exactly your run-of-the-mill crop, you know? That shit's like the golden goose of the drug world, producing the raw material for some of the most potent shit out there like heroin. He was earning a decent amount from his poppy field. So with all the money he earned, he did what any respectable father with half a dozen children would do, drink the booze and fuck the whores. So the money in his family was always tighter than a virgin's vagina in church. So El Chapo's relationship with his dad was about as messed up as a cactus dildo. Growing up in a household where love was about as rare as a sober Irishman, El Chapo learned to fend for himself real quick. He dropped out of school in 3rd grade to help support his family, hustling on the streets like a pro. At the age of 15, El Chapo parted ways with his father and struck out on his own. He wasn't just looking to make ends meet. He had bigger dreams than just being some broke-ass peasant. By the time he hit his 20s, El Chapo was knee-deep in the drug trade, moving cocaine like it was fucking candy on Halloween. And you know what? He was damn good at it. He established new distribution channels, streamlined their supply chain, and tightened security like a fortress. Through land, air, and sea, this motherfucker moved more drugs than a pharmacy on Black Friday. And you can bet your ass he did it with style. El Chapo's cartel controlled vast stretches of territory along the Mexican border, and they used that to set up intricate smuggling routes, with convoys of trucks loaded up with cocaine, heroin, and whatever ass they could get their hands on. But they didn't just rely on land shipments. No, they had the skies on lockdown too. El Chapo had his own fleet of planes, flying low under the radar to avoid detection. They'd load those suckers up with drugs and fly 'em straight like it was clockwork. Coordinating all of that shit takes precision, planning, and balls bigger than the size of coconuts, and El Chapo got them all. He had to keep one step ahead of the feds, dodging surveillance and busts at every turn. So he had a network of informants, corrupt officials, and straight-up killers at his disposal. El Chapo wasn't the kind of boss who played nice when shit hit the fan. No, he was about as forgiving as a pissed-off grizzly bear with a toothache. When his men fucked up, whether it was losing a shipment or crossing him in any way, El Chapo didn't hesitate to bring down the goddamn hammer. And by hammer, I mean a bullet to the head. So there was this dude, Israel Regan Martinez. He used to roll with El Chapo until he decided to flip sides. So what does he do? He snatches up Israel and takes him to one of his torture dungeons, with his sons in tow like it's a goddamn family outing. They didn't just rough him up a bit, no, they went full-on sadistic mode. Electrocution, teeth yanked out with pliers, and get this, they had a doctor on standby to bring him back from the brink every damn time. Talk about prolonging the agony. Poor bastard didn't even get the sweet release of death until they filmed the whole thing and threw it up online for everyone to see. That's some next-level brutality right there, even for El Chapo. So there was another dude from a rival gang, Hugo Hernandez. Poor bastard gets snatched up, whisked away to one of El Chapo's little playhouses. Next thing you know, they find pieces of him scattered all over like some sick scavenger hunt. Torso chilling in an Alaska-bound container, limbs and skull in another box. But wait, it gets worse. City Hall gets a special delivery with a note. Hugo's face sewn onto a freaking football, and they say El Chapo did it himself, like some arts and crafts project from hell. By the way, the note read, "Happy New Year, because this will be your last." El Chapo had a go-to guy named Antonio for when he needed some real nasty shit done, like crashing a wedding just to snatch up the groom, his brother, and his uncle, and then dumping their bodies like garbage in the back of a beat-up truck. Now, I don't know what kind of beef went down between El Chapo and this poor groom, but it must have been some serious shit to warrant that kind of brutal retribution. Can you imagine the horror show that poor wife had to endure, seeing her big day turn into a nightmare, losing her family like that? Just goes to show, in the world of cartels, nobody's safe, not even on their goddamn wedding day. Antonio even had his own murder room. Talk about taking your work home with you. It was soundproofed so nobody could hear the poor bastards begging for mercy, tiled and drained for easy cleanup afterward. That's some next-level psycho shit right there. Imagine going over to Antonio's for a beer and accidentally stumbling into that room. Talk about awkward. But hey, I guess when you're in the business of offing folks for a living, you gotta have a comfortable workspace, right? So El Chapo overall had a reputation for being ruthless as hell. and he wasn't about to let some punk-ass underling ruin his empire. So yeah, if you crossed El Chapo, you better pray to whatever god you believe in, cause your ass was as good as dead. And just like that, he became the most powerful drug traffickers in the world with assets worth billions of dollars. When you're sitting on top of the drug empire like he was, making billions and running circles around the law, you're gonna piss off a lot of people. Rival cartels, law enforcement, politicians, you name it, they all had a bone to pick with El Chapo. Back in 1993, El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel and their rival Tijuana cartel were duking it out, as per usual. But this time, they took their beef to the next level. They had a shootout at the Guadalajara International Airport, and amidst all the chaos, Cardinal Juan Jesús Posadas Ocampo got caught in the crossfire and ended up dead. It was a big deal, even for the twisted standards of the cartel world. It sent shockwaves through Mexico, pissing off everyone from the public to the Catholic Church to the politicians. The government launched a manhunt, slapping bounties on the heads of everyone involved in the shootout. And what about El Chapo? Well, that sneaky son of a bitch wasn't about to stick around and wait for the feds to come knocking on his door. No, he packed his bags and hightailed it out there like a bat out of hell. But El Chapo wasn't about to rely on luck alone. No, he had a plan. He got himself a fake passport and a fake name and made tracks for Guatemala with his girlfriend and his crew of loyal bodyguards. But turns out, one of the Guatemalan military dudes El Chapo greased with a fat stack of cash was playing both sides. He ratted El Chapo out to the cops, and before you could say busted, El Chapo found himself in handcuffs. While in the prison, El Chapo had the whole prison eating out of the palm of his hand. He had guards on his payroll and directors under his thumb, and even managed to smuggle contraband into the prison like it was Christmas. First, he got a guard to open his cell door and hopped into a laundry cart like some action hero. And you know what's even crazier? He rolled his ass right out the front door while every other guard was jerking off. But that's not even the best part. No, the best part is that he had the police in his pocket too. They were paid off to look the other way while El Chapo made his escape. So for the next 13 years, he lived like a kingpin in his hometown of Culiacan, Sinaloa. But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end, and for El Chapo, that end came in the form of a raid by the Mexican Marines. These badass cops stormed his hideout in the early hours of the morning, guns blazing and adrenaline pumping. But here's the kicker. When they finally busted down the door, El Chapo wasn't just sitting around twiddling his thumbs. Oh no, this crafty son of a bitch had an escape plan ready to roll. He slipped through a secret passage hidden behind a mirror like some James Bond shit. But the Marines weren't about to let him get away that easily. They chased his ass down like there was no tomorrow, and before he knew it, El Chapo found himself back in custody. So there he was, locked up tighter than a drum in Federal Social Readaptation Center. But you know what? Ain't no prison gonna hold El Chapo for long. Not when he's got tricks up his sleeve. First off, this sneaky son of a bitch managed to disappear from the security cameras like a ghost. 1 minute he's in his cell, and the next, poof, he's gone. But here's where shit gets crazy. Turns out, there was a tunnel leading straight from the shower area of his cell to a construction site over a mile away. And this wasn't just any tunnel, oh no. This thing was like something straight out of a movie. 33 feet deep, equipped with lights, air ducts, and high-quality construction materials. And get this, there was a motorcycle found in the tunnel. They think it was used to haul all the soil while digging the tunnel, and maybe even himself out of there. For about a year, El Chapo lay low like a ninja in his home turf of Sinaloa. But you know what they say, you can run, but you can't hide forever. The Mexican authorities, along with their pals in the DEA, had their eyes peeled for this slippery son of a bitch. And wouldn't you know it, they finally got their break when they tracked his ass down to Las Machas. So what did they do? They raided his hideout like a SWAT team on steroids, kicking down doors and taking names. But here's the twist. El Chapo wasn't about to go down without a fight. No, this motherfucker put up a struggle like you wouldn't believe, but in the end, he was no match for the firepower of the Mexican Marines. They hauled his ass off to prison faster than you can say, adios, amigo. But mark my words, this ain't the end of the story. Nah, this bastard got more lives than a cat, and you can bet your ass he's gonna make a comeback someday.